Now it's time for our relationship conversation. And on relationship today, we're going to be discussing how personality traits are essential when finding the right person to date. And who better to have a discussion with on this area than Dare Olatoye. Now, he's a visionary entrepreneur, co-founder of True Flutter, a revolutionary dating app that's transformed the lives of millions. And yes, when we say millions, we mean it. Actually, it's great for you to have, it's great for us to have you on the show today. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Now, personality traits and information about personality traits and understanding what these traits actually are. I think that's where we should begin. You have a dating platform, so
Yes.
you have major experience with this.
Yes,
right?
definitely.
So let's start from there. A lot of people are doing this dating thing online now, as opposed to back in the day when you actually had to physically see people before the conversation begins. So let's talk a little bit about how to figure out the personality traits online before the physical meeting.
Yes, so the first thing you need to first understand is that why do people break up? Why do people have bad relationships?
Okay.
It's because of the conflicts they have. And conflicts come as a result of two different personality traits.
Okay.
And of course, they don't agree on so many things. And that's why there's a lot of conflict. But the major thing is that you should first identify your own personality traits to see who you're compatible with. So if you're, for instance, an extrovert or an introvert,
Yeah.
you need to be able to know the kind of personality traits you're actually going to be compatible with. Then once you identify that, you'll be able to know if you're going to be compatible. And you get to know that by having conversations with them, to be able to know if they're outgoing.
Yeah.
If you're an indoor person, I feel if you're on two opposite sides of the spectrum, it's going to cause a lot of conflict. It's always good to have a balance. If you're an introvert, it's good to have someone that's a bit of an extrovert, but not an extreme extrovert. You know, it just keeps that balance in the relationship, and there'll be less conflict in relationships.
So I feel like a lot of people are in denial of their own personality traits. I feel like when you have a conversation with someone and you're like, oh, you're an extrovert, you're really chatty, and the person's like, no, I'm really quiet. But this person has probably been chatting for the past 30 minutes, and you're like, wait, you quiet? So how are you able to, convince people of the traits that they actually have?
If it's one thing I always tell people, we all have patterns.
Okay.
We all have patterns. And it's as a result of our personality traits. Those patterns could actually sabotage potential relationships. Wow. So it's very good when you have insight on the kind of personality traits you have, and you'll be able to, make better decisions in your relationships. So having insight is the most important thing on, okay, I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert, I'm a consensuous person. Then it will be easy for you to have a good relationship if you basically have insights on the kind of personality traits you have.
Some people are of the opinion that personalities also have a lot to do with where the person grew up,
Definitely.
their immediate environment. Are there any more common, more frequent personality traits you've noted about people living in an urban area like Lagos, for instance?
I think people that live in urban areas, they could either be conscientious people, like people that are very detailed, people that are very proper, or they could either be extroverts too, due to urban areas and there are a lot of clubs and nightclubs and lounges. They tend to go out more. So yeah, we're definitely as a result of our environment or where we grew up. Like someone like myself, I'm a result of the environment I grew up. I'm more of an introverted person, and I don't go out much unless it's needed to go out.
Sure.
So yes, well. Yeah.
So now there are some young ladies now looking for someone to date, and they live in these urban areas. But then the first thing you hear is, I want a quiet guy, I want a God-fearing guy, but he has to be really good in business and he has to know how to network. It just feels like they're two different people they're describing. So how are you able to manage that?
First of all, I always tell people that we all have certain ideas in our head of who we think our perfect man is.
Okay.
But then may not necessarily be that perfect man for us.
Okay.
It might not be the right person for us. So I think that what are the most important things when it comes to relationship is values and maybe religion. People have other more important things that you need to address before you now go into like the nitty-gritty of it.
Okay.
But yeah, so I always tell people to make sure that they choose the best things and they can add other things to it. For instance, you want a man that's God-fearing and you want a man that's business-oriented. You want to just add so many things to it, like so many ingredients in one man. But I always feel that there needs to be a lot of compromise too.
Okay.
Being able to just be able to have that compromise. Let me give you an instance. You're a circle and a man is a square. You may be able to fit into the man's lifestyle,
Yeah.
but the square may not be able to fit into your own lifestyle.
Okay.
So what makes you more compatible is if you're willing to evolve and being able to change for each other. So that makes, compatibility
I'm going to come for you
good.
there. You're saying we should change for that square,
Yeah.
four-cornered guy. Why can't he change for the woman? Why does there need to even be any change at all? Why can't they just accept each other for who they are? Isn't this a conversation we hear online all the time?
I think we're all open to change. Let me give you an instance. There's a price hike. Whether we like it or not, we're going to change. And the way the human mind works and the way relationships work is when you're really being able to evolve. We're not perfect people. We're born, we have two different histories. Myself, I grew up in a certain state. You might have grown up in a certain state or a family. So we have different personality traits and different ideologies. But the thing about life and the thing about relationship is you should be able to evolve and try and fit into both of you should actually try and evolve and try and fit into each other's lives. And that one makes a relationship work when you're more flexible.
Okay, so let me touch a little bit on age groups now. Because personality traits, as you said, evolve. But there are some, yes, I'm going to say some men who are still mama's boys. And they're still considered a little immature. Yes, you know who you are. So this issue of immaturity as a personality trait, is this something you would advise that you be more accepting of? Because that's a big one for a lot of people. If you don't know how to clean up after yourself, if you don't know how to look after yourself, groom yourself, you've not reached that maturity level, even at a particular age. Is this something someone should learn to work around?
Well, I always tell people, if it's something you can accept, if it's something you can deal with when you're in a relationship with that person, or when you're married to that person, then when you pray for the rain, you have to deal with the mud. So if you feel you can deal with the person's personality traits and how the person grew up, then you can accept the person. But if you feel it's a no-no for you, I think you should disengage like from the early stage so you don't get yourself in a mess.
So I'm going to bring us back to the initial topic now. Personality traits to look out for when you've decided to date. This issue of dating, I think we need to actually say what a date actually represents in 2023. What a date represented in maybe 1985. It was probably dinner, candles, maybe, drops you at your door. But what is dating right now?
Yes, dating is, well, I say dating is getting to know the person. Also being open to sacrifices. The highest expression of love is sacrifice.
Okay.
And you should be, as a person, you should be able to make sacrifices for the person you feel you can fall in love with.
Okay.
So if you go on a date with someone, or if you want to date someone, you should be able to make sacrifices as a person.
But is there still a difference between dating and courtship now?
Oh, definitely. There's a difference. Courtship is longer, right? And I think dating is more of like the early stages of when you meet and when you're courting. Courting is like a longer relationship.
All right. So I'm a little worried about those more aggressive personalities that people need to look out for, that you probably advise against people, is it swipe right or left? I don't know.
Swipe left.
Swipe left. I don't know. I have no clue where you're swiping to. I don't have an account. But before you make that swipe, in whichever direction, those more aggressive personalities that you advise against, talk to us about that.
People have triggers. I mean, human beings actually have triggers. And if you feel that your own personality trait would also trigger the person to be more aggressive, then it's very likely that you're incompatible. But if you feel that, I mean, I think human beings generally have triggers. There might be one thing or the other that will trigger you and make you aggressive. It could be a friend being rude, or someone being rude to someone, or someone coming late for a meeting. But if you feel that your partner has traits that will trigger your own, your own anger, then I feel that they're not compatible. It's not something that you look into when it comes to relationships.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go into get a bit techie now. Your platform must be using a particular algorithm.
Yeah.
Do you want to let us in on how that works?
First of all, I would say I won't go in depth because it's if I see everything, then I could have
Proprietary, I guess.
Yeah, so because I have competition out there. But what I would say is that the way we're tailored to accelerate the matchmaking process. Okay. Personality traits, culture, religion, and so many things we put into place. So when you're on the platform, we feed you, and also machine learning. We integrated machine learning to it. So the app actually knows the kind of people you like. They study basically the things you like and the things you don't like, and they start feeding you the things you like. And that's why there's this lady that got married. She said when she signed up, she was overwhelmed because she got over 100 matches in a couple of days. Wow. And it was because the app started learning the kind of person she was and the kind of people they could feed to her. So
there was something you said before we came on air. You said you'd done 21 weddings this
23.
year. 23 weddings this year.
In 1 year.
Goodness me. Well, hey, we would love to hear what you have to say about this particular conversation. Use our hashtag #WakeUpNigeria on TVC. Let us know what you think. We'll be matchmaking with you later on again next week and likely the week after that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
Okay then, let's take this quick break and we'll be back with more on Wake Up Nigeria.